What's up, fam? Welcome to another edition of God Dreamers. I'm your host, Todd Bethel, and today I have a special guest here, Leslie Pierce, an entrepreneur and doing other great things. And Leslie, thank you for being a part of God Dreamers. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me today, Todd.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a while. You're so busy, and finally had time to spend some time with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's good.
and she
Whatever.
is and she is busy. She's rocking and rolling. I mean, I can't wait to for you to share about your business and some of the things that you're doing now. It's great, and I'm just excited. I can't wait.
Yes, me too.
So I was checking you out. I went on, went on LinkedIn to kind of do a little research. You know what? I didn't know that you studied journalism.
Yeah,
That's like, wow. I need
yeah.
to get you to be a guest host for the show. How about that?
Oh, yeah, right. I could pull out those journalism skills. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, shoot, that's like Leslie, you holding back. It's like I didn't even
Yeah,
know that. So that's cool. So
yeah.
what did you specialize? I mean, did you go? Was it writing or was it
Um,
reporting? What area of journalism?
yeah, so I actually went to let me was it writing? I believe I specialize in print journalism.
Okay, print. Okay.
Yeah, and then I also went to school for broadcast journalism as well. So initially, when I was kind of going through my college phase, I thought that I was going to be on the radio or on television some kind of way. But I ended up after school, I ended up transitioning to an advertising company. So I ended up working on the business end of the media industry. So um, that was I don't know. I always had a desire for business. So it's like even though I was in journalism, it was kind of like business was something that always kind of like piqued my interest kind of thing. So I kind of find myself back there. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
that's cool. So, like in high school, were you thinking about being like a reporter, or I mean, or
Um
did you just kind of stumble into journalism? I know some people sometimes when you get out of from high school, you don't really not sure
yeah.
what you want to do. So people kind of tell you you should do this, or your parents is like, well, have you considered this? So
Yeah.
was it like that, or you kind of
I
knew, or did
I
you
think
fall into it?
I think I kind of fell into. I think at the time there was no like really like rhyme or reason why I chose journalism. I think I was just trying to do something that I thought would be fun when I got out of school. I'm like, oh, like that would be fun to work for a media
Yeah,
company or be on television or be on the radio. I think that'd be fun. So let me go for journalism. But then I always liked to read. Like I was like a big reader. I was read a lot of books, and then I like to write too. So I thought it would be a good fit for me. Um, but in high school, I think I had. I guess it just really depends on what you're exposed to. So in high school, I had a teacher who um, had an entrepreneurial spirit. Who
mhm,
his name is Coach Adams, and he would always like sell us candy and like to sell all these like do all this side stuff on the side. And he was a teacher, so he kind of piqued my whole uh, interest of like the whole entrepreneurship thing. So I felt like entrepreneurship or business was kind of like on the back burner because I really didn't know how to go about it. But I felt like journalism it was more like of a clear path going in that direction. So that's kind of like the direction I went to initially. But that's a really good question. Yeah, I hadn't
yeah.
thought about that in years.
So you said your coach was one to kind of pick your interest.
Yeah, I
Like your
mean, he was like it was like the first time I think I saw like, oh, like you could do multiple things. Like you could be a teacher and you could be an entrepreneur. You could be a teacher and you can, be a real estate investor and kind of like dive into all these different areas. Like you don't just have to stay in one lane kind of thing. And I
yeah,
thought that was cool that that's when I realized, oh, entrepreneurship gives you like freedom. Like it's freedom. It's
yeah,
multiple streams of income. It's you're kind of you're outside the box, you are being creative, you're I don't know, doing things outside of the rules, so
yeah,
I think that always kind of I was like, oh wow, I've never, I don't it's, I don't see you don't see that a lot like with teachers. So he kind of like unknowingly, I think, kind of inspired me to you know, kind of got my entrepreneurship, side of my brain
Just moving on.
kind of turning. Yeah.
Yeah, as you were saying, I was visualizing, and he's like in class, like, okay, after this test, y'all need to buy out all my M&Ms because I need to clear out, get some more inventory.
Yeah, he's like, y'all furnish me. He told me one day, like, I furnished my whole house with this candy money from from all of y'all. I'm like, that's how much money you making off of candy, Mr. Adams? Like, I need to get a hustler. That
That's
is
hilarious. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
So you grew up in Atlanta? Are you from Atlanta originally, or
So I grew up, I guess, like, yeah, in Atlanta, in the
okay,
county, in DeKalb County, so in Lithonia,
DeKalb
Georgia.
County? Okay,
Yeah, DeKalb, yeah.
what high school?
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. Okay,
Yeah.
I went to Southwest DeKalb.
Did we talk about this?
Did we? I'm not sure.
I didn't know you went to Southwest.
Yeah, Southwest DeKalb. Yeah, back in, well, I'm not gonna date it, but yeah, I went there.
No shame. Safe
Mm.
space.
Yeah, I went there in 1964. No.
So
Yeah,
are you in DeKalb County?
yeah. Well, I was. Yeah, I'm not now, but yeah, I grew up in DeKalb County. Uh, off of Candler, not Candler Road, Wesley Chapel,
Okay,
area.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you were
well,
in
down the street.
DeKalb
Actually,
County.
my house is like, I used to walk to school, so my house is right around the corner from Southwest DeKalb
Oh,
at the
okay.
time. Yeah,
Huh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. DeKalb County. For some reason, I was
Yeah.
thinking you were from out of state, but okay. So you're native Georgian, native
Yeah.
Atlantan. You don't really run across too many native Georgians, or at least native Atlantans, because I think Atlanta in itself seems like everybody's from somewhere else lately.
Yeah, that's true. That's so funny. But yeah, Lithonia. So you in Decatur, it looks like. Sounds like.
Decatur, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. South portion of Decatur, and
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it was. Finished up there and then went to school here. So I've pretty much been in Georgia all my life now. So I'm basically a native Georgian, even though I was born in New York.
What part of New York?
I was born in Bronx, but we lived in Manhattan before we moved to the Bahamas.
You grew up in the Bahamas?
Yeah. My dad's Bahamian. So we moved back to the Bahamas when I was 6. Stayed there for I think 6-7 years, and then came back to the States. But Dad was very strategic about how we he wanted us to go to college, and so in the Bahamas is very. I mean, you can go to college in the Bahamas. Bahamas didn't really. They had the College of Bahamas, but it was more like a community college back then. And so he was very strategic. He said, "Well, it's going to be an arm and a leg for me to send all y'all children to college, so we need to move back to the States." So we moved back to the States when my older sister went to college, and
Okay.
so we came back here, and that's how we all went to school. It was a little bit cheaper to do it that way. So he was very strategic.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was probably nice growing up on the island.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember my mom picking us up from school, and we'd go to the beach, and we'd just hang out for the beach for to kind of unwind from the school day, and then go home and eat. So that's because Nassau, grew up in Nassau, so Nassau's a relatively small island. It's I think 7 miles wide by I think 21 miles long. So, I mean, you could pretty much walk the whole island. You can run the whole island in a few hours. But
Yeah.
yeah. But it was fun times there for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So for you, so you worked for a little while,
Hmm.
and I think you did some media buying and some other things as well for your job experience. So what gave you the itch to kind of to say, hey, I'm tired of working. I want to do my own thing. And also how did you find out what you wanted to do in terms of providing a product and service? Was it something that was already lingering? You saw a problem that you need to fulfill, or did you kind of do research and say, this would be a good business? What was that process like?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So basically, the way my journey kind of went was after college, I was doing some advertising, working as an intern. I ended up kind of getting released from a lot of jobs that I had. So that happened. So I got released from the last 3 jobs that I had, and it's just since
What?
yeah. It happens.
Yeah, that's true. I got released a couple of times too. So
Yeah. Promoted to the unemployment line. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I could sense that God was really just leading me to it was the summer, I want to say maybe 2000, maybe 15, maybe 16, but God was just kind of leading me to post a flyer. So it was, it was trying to figure out like, okay, I know I want to try this, own a business. I've always had the desire there. I've never really pursued it. Never really been like, never really had like any kind of like outside encouragement to kind of just
Hmm.
go for it, because a lot of times, family, friends, or whoever just kind of encourage you to go to do what's practical because, it's such you're going into the unknown and everything is so
Yeah.
unpredictable. I didn't have a business degree. I thought I needed a business degree to start a business. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't, I wasn't trained, you know what I mean, and anything like that. So there was that there. But I remember just God leading me to a class, an entrepreneurship class that was held at my church at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah. And it was just like perfect timing. And I think I went there and I just kind of learned like just some basic fundamentals and basic principles. And one of the things I learned, well, one of the things I do remember from the class was his name is Pastor Amos. He said, a lot of times when you are starting a business, everything doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. And I
Yeah.
think that was enough to motivate me to post a flyer online about a particular service I felt like God was leading me to offer. So initially, the first thought I thought that what God wanted me to do was start a magazine. So because I went to school for
Okay.
journalism, so I was trying to and I'm trying to add it up. Oh, journalism, I must need to start a media company because that's where my background is. But the Lord was like, no, you need to pay your rent in 30 days. You kind of need to do something that's now, like what do you have
Yeah.
right now? What skill do you have right now that you can kind of like start generating some type of revenue or some type of income? And so for me, I was a swimmer growing up. I swam middle school, high school. I was a lifeguard in high school and during the summers as well. So
What? The swimmer?
yeah,
I didn't know that either.
yeah,
Learning all these things about you. Wow.
yeah. So yeah, and I was pretty good. But by the time I got to college, I was kind of burnt out a little bit. So I didn't pursue it in college. But I still had that skill set. And so anyways, I ended up posting a flyer on Craigslist at the time about swimming lessons. I would offer swimming lessons during the summer. And I would just remember when I did it, my phone was just kind of ringing off the hook and
Wow.
all these people were calling, needing lessons. So I didn't realize that so many people like needed that particular service. And it was just like the whole summer, I'm just like, because I was still had my unemployment, I was still eligible for unemployment. Then I was
Yeah.
making money here. So I was good. I was able to kind of like sustain myself throughout the summer. But in the fall, it got cold. Kids went back to school. And a lot of what was going, the business kind of dried up. So then I said, well, I don't think it's time to go back to work. Let me just, at that point, this is all just like walking by faith, so it's like, let
Hmm.
me see what'll happen if I just stay out here long enough. I believe that God will, he'll cover me, he'll make a way, you know, he'll do his thing.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I ended up contacting the city of Atlanta to pursue to get a contract to get us contract to teach swim lessons to provide swim lessons for children and adults in the city. And so it was just it just so happened it was perfect timing. The person who was on his way out, he was on his way out, so he signed it. I don't even think I don't even think he read he just signed it, gave me the contract, and
Dang.
yeah, and so it
That's
was
crazy.
yeah, that was it. And so I was, officially a vendor for the city, and I built up my site, and I was, hiring and teaching and training other instructors under me, and we taught a lot of people. It was really rewarding, just kind of helping people kind of overcome, fear of the water, and just kind of learning new skills. So I had that business for about 4 years, and it was great. And I think I kind of got to the point where it was a service-based business. So I kind of got to the point where I was kind of getting burned out. And I knew it was time to transition. Like, how like the grace, it's like the
Yeah.
grace is lifted. It's like,
Yeah.
so it's time to transition to something different. And then two, I always kind of had slow seasons during the winter. So it would always be like a season of the year where I was just kind of like, things were just very slow. And I knew I had time to pursue something else. I didn't know what it was, if it was going back to school or if it was maybe starting another business. So that's what I did. I ended up starting, before I got into e-com, I had two other businesses that were also service-based. One was an Airbnb and one was a photo booth business. And
Wow.
but because they were service-based, it was all, and the Airbnb was very successful, but it was still a lot of my time. It was still a lot of me being very involved. And I felt like I didn't have a lot of, I couldn't enjoy like
Yeah.
the benefit of like being an entrepreneur, which is like having control over your time. So I kind of came to that conclusion. I said, I'm gonna have to shut this down, and we're gonna have to figure out something where I don't have to be so involved. And same with the photo booth business. I had corporate clients and things like that, but I said I can't. That was really quick. I said I gotta restructure how I'm thinking about this. So I felt like the Holy Spirit led me to start researching the e-commerce and just learning what it is, learning how it's done, learning the process of sourcing products overseas, and getting those products to the United States and figuring out how to build an e-commerce website and sell online. So that's pretty much where what he had me researching, and that's what landed me on the products that I sell now, which are they're wraps, hair wraps for women. Well, women or men, but that's what we sell in our e-commerce store.
So what was that research like? I mean, where do you start? Because it seemed like it'd be overwhelming to look at all the different things that could be sold through e-commerce. I mean,
Mm.
what is that research like? Where do you start?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I always tell people like just start where you are. So for me, the reason why I came across the product idea that I came across was because it's something that I would use even when I was younger. So because I swam
Mhm.
so much and I grew up, when I grew up, there was no YouTube, there was no like Instagram, there was no social media like, or then there was no then there wasn't like this abundance of like hair products for just like really coarse hair. So my hair was thick, it was big, it was like all over the place. And I was swimming. So it was like my hair always looked crazy. So like so I would wear like these wraps on my head,
Yeah,
just to kind of look presentable when I came out, so I wouldn't scare people. So for me, it was something that was personal. It was something that I knew about, and it was something that I knew they didn't sell like in the stores. Like you can't find them in stores and stuff. So you can only buy them online. And so for me, I kind of that's where I kind of started, and I saw that there was a gap. God showed me how there was, there's space in this
yeah,
particular, beauty place in the beauty industry where, you know, where you can potentially set up a brand and make money. So I always tell people, like, if you are looking to get into e-commerce, like, there's something that everybody, each person knows about, like, from your life experiences, whether you work in the airline industry or whether you're working in the restaurant industry, like there's a problem, that only you would be able to see because you're there every day,
yeah,
experiencing that, that life. So, so normally that's how, I feel like that's the best way to do it. Like you said, it can be very overwhelming, like looking at all these products, but there's a specific area, I feel like in the market that you would understand better than anybody else. And you would be able to kind of like look at how to like bring solutions to that particular industry. So
yeah.
that's what, that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's really good, because we, like you said, all of us, through our experiences and just working and so forth, and just having needs, right, and then being able to identify and say, hey, this is a need that I have or a challenge that I have, and how can I fill this? And I guess that's what you did. You said, hey, there's a need for these, your hair pieces, not hair pieces, but your
Right.
But that's funny because I have another friend of mine, and he was selling bandanas, and he
Uh-huh.
made big money off of that. And then
Uh-huh.
he kind of started selling shoelaces. And I'm like, how do you come up selling shoelaces? But I
Yeah.
mean, there was a need. I mean, all these different colors and and he was like banking on stuff
Mhm.
like that. So it's not as complicated as people think. And actually, I need to do some homework myself because I want to get into e-commerce. But yeah, you're right though. I mean, you just find something that you already are knowledgeable about, and
Yeah,
there's a need in that area. So that's
exactly.
awesome. What are your plans now in terms of, you have your e-commerce business. Are you planning on expanding it? Or are there other areas, since you're a serial entrepreneur? Are you kind of looking ahead as far as other opportunities that you can pursue potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the whole like the e-commerce business model. So if I have like if I, start thinking of like another like and I've had two other e-commerce stores. So in 2021 or yeah, I think during the pandemic I had three e-commerce stores. So I've had multiple stores. I think the store I have now has been the most successful. So I think I want to kind of continue just kind of build out that and just kind of see if I can if there's any like just, see if the God leads me in any other like kind of innovative kind of ideas. So I definitely want to like continue to like differentiate the brand in the marketplace and just kind of be known as like the go-to place to get luxury quality head wraps for your hair. So I want to continue to do that and do it at a high level, and I'm open to doing other e-commerce stores. I would love to kind of like deep dive into that more, but the product would have to be right,
Yeah, yeah,
just like you said, the hardest part is like coming up with the product idea. So
yeah.
um,
I have so many questions. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about, how did you source your product, and are you dealing with some of the challenges with supply chain? Because I think a lot of products, come out of China, and I think with all the crazy stuff that's been going on, there are other countries that are kind of stepping up and sourcing product. But how difficult was that, and how is this supply chain stuff affecting you right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I feel like I like so during the pandemic, I think like it was probably the supply chain was probably delayed the most as far as like, shipping and kind of getting things to the States. I honestly my business hasn't been super affected by it.
That's good.
Yeah, so people, yeah, some people ask, I'm like, I don't know, I don't know if the news is just kind of like, I don't know, but yeah, I haven't been super affected by it. There's always been like some type, like like a 30-day delay from the time that you kind of like you're ordering, from the time it's like on the ship and then gets to the States and then finally gets to wherever it's shipping to, like your warehouse and stuff. So, but yeah, as far as sourcing is concerned, like you said, like a lot of source people do source in China. One because of the labor costs. I believe it's like every. I was speaking with someone in Vietnam earlier because I was kind of thinking about maybe switching my sourcing to Vietnam, but he told me that for every one Vietnamese person, there's 20 Chinese people. But he was just telling me that it's very inexpensive because of the huge labor force that they have there. Um, so yeah, so the and then they're all like China has like all the raw materials, so the cost is just very you know it's you get a really great cost for your money. But I
Yeah,
would just say like if you are looking into sourcing, take your time. Like it could be really exciting, just kind of like getting on a chat with an agent and just kind of like talking through your idea. But I would write down like exactly what it is that you want, to make sure, that you're on the same page, because there is like a slight language barrier and things can get lost in translation. So I would, and then always like before you buy in bulk, like you want to get samples of whatever it is you're buying. So you don't want to go off of photos or videos that you see, or even that they send you. Like you want to be able to feel it, touch it, smell it, you know, whatever, taste it, like whatever you have to do before you
yeah.
make that
Commit.
order. Yeah, commit. Yeah, and that's something I had to learn to do. I was super excited in the beginning. I'm like, submit. It's like, take your time, go through that process. It may be a 2-month process, before you choose a supplier, maybe 3 months, and it's gonna, it's gonna cost. It's an investment, So I think if I could go back and do it over again, I would be more just exercise more patience, so that you don't get because you don't get stuck with inventory. So even to this day, like I have inventory that is just like stuck in a storage unit because it's like this is these specs aren't right. You know what I mean? So yeah. And then too, like if you know someone who's kind of done it before, like to kind of have them have a like some kind of mentor to kind of help guide you through it. Cause yeah, it's not that's the kind of guide you through it. I think that would be the what I would recommend for someone. But yeah. What were
Yeah.
you thinking about selling?
I don't know. That's so my skill set's engineering. Music is something I love. Video I love doing. So I had to be would be something in that capacity. But but I don't. I'm leery of trying to sell electronics because I know electronics are you know they change constantly, right? And they lose value quickly, right? So you don't want to inventory, I don't know, guitars, and then well, guitars may not be a good example because people always buy guitars, but I don't know. But you don't want to inventory some specialty electronic, and then a week later it's no longer needed. Now you're stuck with expensive gear that you have to sell.
Mhm.
You know, uh, you know,
Yeah.
less than what you pay for, or at least at cost. So um, I'm I'm thinking about it. Yeah, but I definitely want to do it though. So I'm gonna have to talk to you offline to figure
Okay.
out
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what
That
I don't
sounds
want. I don't want to share all my secrets out.
yes,
Nah.
all out in the world.
So as we get ready to close, what are some of the challenges, like the pain, some of the joys and the pains of being an entrepreneur? I think a lot of times people see the glamorous side, their arrival. Oh, this person is done, just living the life. They're, making money, they're traveling the world. And that's great. But they're on the other side, the flip side is, the behind the scenes, some of the challenges, some of the failure, some of the times when you're questioning, you're going down the right path, some of the decisions. I mean, what's that been like for you on the back side of things, where people don't normally see?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Yeah, I feel like you're right. Like entrepreneurship is like, especially for some reason in this day and age, it's like very glamorized. So like when I
Mhm.
was in high school, like I said, there was no Instagram, there was none of the social media, like you know, there was no like bird's eye view or magnifying glass into the life of an entrepreneur. I just wanted to do it because I just thought that that's where financial freedom was, and I felt like that's what God called me to do. But so let's see, one of the joys, I guess we'll start with the joys first, is of course like being able to, of course, like be able to kind of like maneuver, have your own schedule, kind of set your own schedule, set your own time. Like you really feel like you have freedom, you know what I mean? But another like so one of the things that people don't talk about is like the amount of time that it takes to really like build something great, build a successful business. Like it takes a lot of research, a lot of discipline, and a lot of time. So it's like you people see that, but it's like it doesn't come haphazardly, you know what I mean? Like, and even though like God like spoke to me about what it was like I needed to do, it was like I still had to put in the work, and it wasn't just gonna like fall on me. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just gonna success wasn't just gonna just you have to still, get up and work hard for it. And a lot of times like you're gonna be working longer hours than your friends or your family. So a lot of times like, you're not gonna be able to just to say yes to every event and go and do to go and do go to every function and just kind of do all these things. Like it's going to take yeah, so it's a lot of no, it's a lot of discipline, it's a lot of self-discipline, it's a lot of I don't know, just being okay with like because you're doing something different and you're you want to kind of do things that other people have never done before. Like it's going to cause you to um you yourself are going to have to be I don't know, a little odd, a little different, a little um I don't know. You just, I guess what I'm trying to say is just have to be okay with being being different, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go at it alone. So I think like one of the things I wish I would have done earlier is like find like a community of like other entrepreneurs who are like on the same journey as you, because it
Yeah.
kind of makes it, you know what I mean? Like makes it easier, right? Once you kind of like have other people who kind of like have the same mentality, the same mindset, the same kind of perspective, and the same kind of drive and ambition. It makes you, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. Like working these late hours and these long hours, and you know what I mean, putting in all this time. Like this is our norm, even though it may not be the norm of other people that you may have been in a relationship with before.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. So we as we close, last question for you. Let's talk about faith. Let's talk about, you mentioned, how God is kind of giving you some guidance and direction. You think in your current journey, are you working or fulfilling what God has called you to do as far as purpose? Is that something that you think about, or is that something that you feel like you're accomplishing, or you feel like there's more to what you feel like God is calling you to do?
no, yeah, that's a good question. I think that I feel like purpose is kind of like ever changing, So, to answer your question, I do feel like I am walking in my purpose of what God has called me to do, because I do feel like I'm in alignment with what God has called me to do. So, I do feel, fulfilled in that, but I also feel like there is more that God has for me. So I feel like at every stage of my life, like God is gonna like have a set destination or a set place for me. And so I just feel like, until the day that, I transition, like I'm gonna always, you know what I mean? Like I'm never gonna arrive at this place of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's always gonna kind of like be continual. Um, but what was the other part of the question?
No, I was just, I was saying, do you feel like you're operating in your purpose now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. And I felt like another thing that I kind of like think about from time to time is like, even though like I've had a lot of different experiences in my life, like for instance, like sometimes people have said like, oh, like, you're going to school for journalism, but you're in business. Like that doesn't add up. But the thing about God is, nothing is wasted with God. So even though, yes, I went to school and I learned about how to communicate on different platforms, like those skill sets even translate into the business world, So writing and just kind of learning how to, edit video and photos and just kind of like framing up how things should look. All those things were able to help me, even like building my first website, writing out. I don't know, just like writing is a skill you use every day, anyways, and just
Yeah.
communication. We communicate all day, every day. So yeah, I would, God makes everything beautiful in His time, and nothing is wasted. So I feel like that's just kind of been like the theme of my journey, even though like it seems like it's going like this. God
Yeah.
has like make it
Yeah.
go. It's like it's gonna make it kind of everything.
That's the fascinating thing about God, and which I love. And I've used this analogy before. It's like, people, sometimes we get frustrated because maybe we're doing something that we don't feel like we're passionate about. But those opportunities are really God allowing you to learn a skill set. It's almost like, I always see it like your purpose is like a big puzzle, right? All the
Mhm,
pieces are scattered, right? But
mhm,
there's a piece that's, say, your experience. There's a piece that's just your education. There's a piece that's a skill set. And as you're experiencing these things and doing these things, you're putting these pieces together, and it's a journey, right? And that journey doesn't really complete until the puzzle's done. But that's when you're basically called home, right? And so
mhm.
that's kind of how I see it. It's like, don't discount your current state. Don't discount your discontent with where you are in life, whether it's your job or whether it's even in your business or where you currently are, because each and every opportunity, there's a place where God is providing you wisdom, is God providing you skills for that bigger picture that you may not even see right now. Like you said,
Yeah.
you feel like you're doing this, but it really, that's part of the plan of God has for you, because without this piece over here, it's not going to work, right? So
Mhm.
so just don't, I guess the word would be just never, and that's for me. And actually, I'm speaking to myself. Don't discount where you are right now, because God is working things through you. And as long as you're obedient and keep moving forward, I feel like God will actually show you where you need to be, and when that time comes, you'll be ready for it.
Yeah.
So, how can people find out more about you? How can they find your store so they can, service and purchase goods from
Yeah.
you? How can they
Patronizing.
reach you?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm on IG. My IG is Hey Leslie. Hey Leslie, and it's like an underscore, two underscores, and then I'm on LinkedIn, Leslie Renee. I think that's my
I think it's Leslie P.
Is it Leslie P? Okay, so Leslie P. I need to get more involved on my LinkedIn page.
You sound like me. Can't remember my handle.
Yeah, that was my handle. And then our e-commerce brand right now, it's called Crowned. So it's Crowned with two N's.
Okay.
So yeah, and just type it in, you'll be able to find it. But yeah, I think I had thought about the question that you said about the highs and the lows, and something had came to me when you were just now when you were talking was a lot of times entrepreneurship is hard because a lot of times people think that that you're crazy, and you're kind of because you're pursuing something that like kind of never been done, right? Whether you're the only one in your family pursuing entrepreneurship. That's how it was for me. Like I'm the first entrepreneur in my family to my knowledge. So a lot of times it was I never had a lot of encouragement to kind of keep going. It was more so like, oh, why are you doing this? This none, that doesn't make any sense. Are you sure? Are you okay? Are you making are you really making money? So yeah, so what kind of kept me going was I knew what God had called me to do, and I knew who I was in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So because I knew that, like I had to hold on to that, right? I had to write that down, write down what the promises of God were for me, and I had to believe it and just walk it out every day, and encourage myself, and just know like it may not make sense now, but this will all make sense one day, kind of thing. So I think that's important. Just kind of like, that personal, that vertical relationship, that you have with God is so important, especially when you're, when you are in entrepreneurship, because sometimes, that's all you have to keep you going. So,
That's so true. Yeah, you're right about that. Sometimes it feels very lonely.
mm-hmm.
You're doing something that's nobody else has done, and so you're kind of like you're the trendsetter, and so it can be a lonely place. But we're not alone, right? Because God's
Right,
there with us, and so that makes
right,
it even better. So,
exactly.
but anyway, thank you so much, Leslie. This has been really
Yes.
good. I mean, I can talk hours upon hours about this. This is stuff that I love. I love people that are entrepreneurs, that are successful and love God and making a difference. And so I'm really inspired by what you shared, and I hope that you guys that are listening, you'll be inspired. So if you have an itch to want to become an entrepreneur, or already currently an entrepreneur, and if you want to get into e-commerce, reach out to Leslie.
Yeah.
She can kind of give you a school as far as what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
But thank you, Leslie, for hanging out with us today on God Dreamers. I'm greatly appreciative of you taking your time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, no. Anytime, anything for you, Todd. Listen, I'm only a phone call away. Don't be like that.
Well, anyway, guys, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, like, and if you have anyone, or if you know of anyone that's doing great things for the kingdom, that's making a difference, and you want to share that story, please reach out to us. We'd love to share what you guys are doing, and hopes are inspiring others, so that we all can kind of continue to process and become fulfill what God has called us to do. So anyway, until next time, you guys take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.
See ya.